Hello, and you are listening to the very first episode of Oneness Project Light One-on-One with Israel Kelly. I'm your host, Cassandra. In each episode, I will be asking Israel questions on a particular topic that will enhance our understanding of life, the universe, and the world around us. For those of you not familiar with Israel Kelly, he is a life coach who is fully coalesced with Source Energy and has been granted with the universal knowing. He is here to bring messages of love to humanity from the divine and to facilitate all of us with the expansion of our consciousness. So without further ado, I present Israel Kelly. Welcome, Israel.
Thanks for having me, Cassandra. I am delighted to be here. It's my privilege.
It is my pleasure as well to be here, and thank you for asking me to be your host for your series. Just to give you a little background about Izzy and I, we met in early January of this year through a social network, and we hit it off from the very beginning. Unbeknownst to me, he already knew who I was and was quote-unquote expecting me. According to Israel, who has knowledge of all things, including past lives, he and I have shared many past lives together, and after learning that, he has taken me under his wing and has been mentoring me ever since. And as part of my spiritual expansion, I will be assisting him in sharing his divine knowledge to the world. Each week we will select a topic of discussion, and Israel will answer questions relating to each topic, and our chosen topic for this evening is creation. But before we begin with our questions, Israel, can you please share with us your story of how you mastered oneness with Source Energy and how you were granted with the gift of knowing?
Having the knowing or being able to coalesce with non-physical is a decision that is taken by Source, and it falls into the purpose of helping other people to expand their consciousness. It is something that is easy to achieve if any one of us are able to remove resistance and doubts, and we believe in ourselves. We are a non-physical expression in a human body, not the way around. However, we learn doubts, we learn to have disbelief and mistrust in ourselves in that distance. Our physical self to comprehend and understand how close to our larger part, our non-physical part, that is within us. By removing that separation, we will be able to coalesce with non-physical and fall into the purpose of teaching. If anybody wants to, is considering, likes the teaching, likes the coaching, and is close with Source, or is looking for the expansion of consciousness or the spiritual growth, can be achieved if the person trusts in herself or in himself, and is a decision that is taken by Source. It falls into the purpose of teaching, falls into the purpose of being anointed with the remembrance of time, remembrance of creation, expansion, evolution, and with limitations will be very difficult for a person to achieve. So whoever wants to become will have to look within himself, herself, and accept that we are more than our bodies, that the mystical part that composes our body is not just that, and that we are a spiritual and a physical form.
So basically, Israel, you are saying that we are all able to achieve the same level of mastery by simply releasing all of our fears, doubts, limitations, and resistance. Is that correct?
We are, all of us, one expression, with different orientation, with different likes and dislikes, with different preferences and so on. However, the spiritual growth, it belongs to all of us. It's who we are. We are spiritual already in a physical body. And being anointed, being coalesced with non-physical, is like connecting to the larger part of yourself. Anybody can do that by removing resistance, by removing separation.
What would you call the level that you're at, Israel? Have you achieved what we would call enlightenment?
I won't refer to it as level or enlightenment. After having the knowing, there's no more limitations anymore. So there's no more scales or levels or grades or any of that. You just know things. You just have the intuition. You just have the remembrance of anything that passed in your life before, over generations, and you go all the way down from the time of expansion of source energy. So there is not a way to, with simple words, classify how is the stage, what stage a person with a knowing is, because a person with a knowing doesn't have those limitations anymore.
When you say that you are coalesced with source energy, what exactly does that mean?
Using human words, humans that are studying and trying to expand their consciousness use the term of higher self. When you are coalesced with non-physical, you allow your higher self to have interactions through you. You allow non-physical to have physical interactions through you for the purpose of expanding and helping other humans to achieve enlightenment and the expansion of their consciousness.
Thank you, Israel. Moving on now to our topic of creation. Israel, can you please give us your opinion about the book of Genesis from the Bible? And is the story of Adam and Eve true?
Book of Genesis and the Bible and many other books that are historical books are very good reference to understand and in a human way the reality of creation. However, every one of us is having a different experience. Every one of us have a perception of reality different. The way that creation was told was the way that, accordingly to that age, accordingly to that time in that generation, was easy for those humans to understand creation. There's no such a thing as right or wrong or error or the truth about things. It's just human interpretation. About the story of Adam and Eve, it was the way to understand polarity. Polarity was created as a master plan to have the contrast on planet Earth so we can have an experience. Before the invention of the creation of that polarity, our experience was flat, didn't have any color, everything was perfect. In order to have an experience in which we will have a flavor as humans, as spiritual ones occupying a human body, we needed a contrast. We needed flavor in order to have a different experience other than just a perfect experience. Having the contrast, it was necessary, and with that, the polarity of things was created. The imperfection of things was created. The way it was explained with Adam and Eve, it was the easiest way for humans to understand and distinguish between right and wrong and use their free will for their choices and their decisions and their likes and dislikes, preference, and so on.
Thank you, Israel, for that explanation. So the story in the Bible was pertinent for those living in that era. Can you please explain creation in your own words for all of us listening now? Thank you.
I will explain it in my own words. However, it will resonate with most of the people listen to this recording, because whatever myself or anybody else that is teaching about expansion of consciousness can tell you about those things, you already know. But we induce ourselves to forget things in order to come to a physical form and have a new experience on time-space reality. So everybody else already knows about how things went down, but we induce ourselves to forget all those details in order to make a new creation on time-space reality, planet Earth, possible. Creation is a very difficult thing to explain with in human words, because it has a lot of details in there that we don't have words that we can use to explain. But just to have an idea of how things were conceived is as follows. Let's say that energy that we refer as God was by himself. So this is, if we take in reference the book of Genesis, this is before the book of Genesis. Let's say that God, as we call it, was by himself, and he knew himself magnificent. He knew himself almighty, the Alpha and Omega, and it was nothing around him. So in order for him to experience things, he expanded his energy. That scientists call that the expansion of the universe, and that believers of a religion call that the creation. Everything was created at once. When God, Source, expanded his energy, he created molecules of his own energy, particles of himself that will look back to him, and in that matter they can see his magnificent. So he creates what we understand as our energy, the souls, to look back to God and admire his magnificent, admire his almighty power. And with that creation, with that expansion of energy, he created gardens that we call galaxies and universes and places and stars and so on, and the garden that we call planet Earth. After creating planet Earth, everything else was created, vegetation and water and so on, kind of the way that is explained in Genesis. However, God doesn't need days to create anything, but it needed to be explained like that so humans can understand, because we are so attached to time. So for us, the concept of time, the sequence of events is linear for us. And in order for us to understand the concept of creation, time needed to be input in the article, which says that day one he did this, second day he did that, and so on, to help humans understand the concept of creation.
Thank you for that beautiful explanation, Israel. Can you now tell us why God created human beings?
The creation of the vehicle we call the human body was created for the souls, or the expansion of the God's energy, to come into physicality and have a human experience. We learn a society, we learn a culture, we learn a language, we learn a way to think, and we induce ourselves to forget our spiritual part, our larger part, which is our higher self that is attached to our soul, is what occupies our physicality while we are on time-space reality. The vehicle that we call the human body was created by God for that energy, that expansion of his energy, to have a human experience on planet Earth. God is unconditional love, and he wanted his energy to know experientially God, conceptually. Let's say that you feel yourself that you are kind, and until you don't do things out of a kindness, you just have a concept. So we as energy come into time-space reality to apply, instead of having a concept about things, having an experience, having physical experience about things, instead of having just a concept of that experience.
How beautiful. So God is experiencing life through each and every single one of us. From what I've learned from you and other masters, we have lived many incarnations. Is it mandatory to have a human experience and to return again and again? Why have we incarnated hundreds of times? Does this cycle end at some point?
Same way in which when we occupy a physical body, we were given free will by God. When we don't have a physical form, that we are on a non-physical form, we do have free will. And we want to come back. We come for the experience. We not only come to this time-space reality, but we come to many other realities that will be very difficult to verbalize, very difficult to put on words, because right now we just understand time-space reality. And the cycle of coming back to different realities is an eternal cycle. It's the purpose of life. We not only come into this time-space reality, but we have other places in which we go to experience different things and in different type of lives. It is not mandatory. It's on free will, and we are always eager to come back. We are a reflection of God. We are God energy. We are part of that divine energy. And when we are not on physical form, we perceive reality different from what we understand while on physical form.
Wow. Thank you so much, Israel, for enlightening all of us on the story of creation. It's truly been beautiful to hear the truth. Until next time, this is Cassandra from Oneness Project Light, one-on-one with Israel Kelly. Bye for now.
We are delighted to answer all your questions, Cassandra. It was a privilege for us. Until next time.